You love your business. It's your baby. You spend a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in it. You live for it. You think about it night and day. You think about it on vacation. And that's the life of most entrepreneurs and business owners. But creating space, but in the process of doing that, sometimes we're just caught up in the passion of the moment, the growth. Other times we get ourselves in a pickle the where we have to put in more hours than we intend, and often those hours turn into habits. Um, and the next thing to know, those habits turn into years, and those intentions turn into the family's grown and gone, and your desires have kind of backfired on you. But what often happens, I see with owners, is they give up a lot of things. But one of the things they give up often is their health. And a question that popped into my mind one day in my business and was, Lee, you're sacrificing your health at the altar of your business. And boy, was I convicted and felt bad about it. And I ask you, are you sacrificing your health at the altar of your business? You know, is it easy to make excuses to not do small things? So in that, am I a health coach? No. I'm married to one, and that helps. It makes me much more aware about things. It's forced me to be aware, and like most successful things, I encourage you, if you decide to get serious about this, to do it in steps to where the process is transformational. Don't what you see most people do is they get this epiphany. I'm going to take care of myself, and I'm going to go 5 times a week. I'm going to do these workouts, and they just uh, go from zero to Mach 5 in their exercise routine, and they can't keep that pace up, and it doesn't create transformational change. Um, I'm not going to give you health tips. I will tell you some things that did help me, but I think first of all is it's an important question to ask. It sets an example for other folks in your business. We have issues in our country with obesity. There's no, we can't get away from that. And it's really hard to eat well or do things when you're constantly under the gun and working late and getting up early or not making it a priority. But I will say, if you do set that as something that you want to make a change in, which I encourage you to do, it can be a small habit. When I woke up one day, had been thin all my life, and I was like early 40s, and I was getting ready to about to buy a 40-inch belt, and I went from 165 to 215 in some mysterious way, and I was so uh, embarrassed and felt bad about it from an ego standpoint. But on the other side of it, I had family members that have had certain health issues that they didn't address and do. So I knew two things. I knew that I needed a change. I didn't need a quick fix. And I also knew that most of my change in business, when I was selling as an owner or doing things, is that I had to build momentum. So all I really did was I took three 20-minute walks a week. That was my only goal for the first 90 days, is to walk 20 minutes 3 times a week. I did more most of the time, but I wanted wins. I wanted to go from feeling bad to feeling good. I knew I'd never stick with a diet. Maybe you can, but the only goal is I just wanted to eat smaller portions and maybe cut out dessert a few more times. Um, but I was so excited about those small steps because I was getting wins. Okay, that the next 90 days it ramped up a little bit. The next 90 days it ramped up a little bit. And over 18 months, I was down to 175. And that when I'm 20 years later, I'm kind of still in that 80 to 85 range, which I'm happy with. And, but I've got habits now that, there's great books about habits. But what you're after is a habit and a change there that's doable. It may just mean you do something 10 minutes in the morning, but you just want that new habit that you can build on. But you will sacrifice your health at the altar of your business if you're not intentional about it. And often I've found that owners are like the worst investors in the world, because they're putting so much money in their business. They're investing in themselves, and they hope that they cash that in at the end. But don't make a mistake of not investing in your health, because you need the thinking time. Now, the other part of that story in my little journey there is I found out it was a great stress reliever. And most owners are really stressed out the vast majority of the time. So we bought a treadmill up in the stairs. My wife used it a lot too. And I would come home, and I was never the runner, but I'd walk for 45 minutes to an hour sometimes. It was to the point that my son at that time was small. He'd come upstairs while I was doing this, and we'd chat a little bit. But when it was Christmas, what he wanted for Christmas was a treadmill. And it was kind of cool. So we bought a little treadmill, and a little small one, and put it beside mine. And so when I came home and did that, but I was proud because I felt like I'm setting a good example. I was still getting time with him. I could, I just didn't have time to go to the gym, but I did something. And so that's what I encourage you to do, because most folks don't feel good about their health. They've got bad habits. I would encourage you to get someone that could help you in the health coaching or in that arena. But at the very least, you can make some changes that'll lead you in the right direction, and it will be the best thing you can do for your business and for yourself and for your family. I hope that helps. If you'd like to talk more, again, about how business affects so many other areas in your life, it's what we often do in coaching. Check out the link below and schedule an appointment. I'd be glad to talk with you.